Welcome back to the BizApps Classroom. I'm Jason Gumpert from MS Dynamics World. The series is all about training and learning, and it's produced as a partnership between 365.training and MS Dynamics World. On this episode, we are talking to a true veteran of Microsoft Business Applications training. It's Derik Bormann. He's a Microsoft MVP and has taught everyone from Microsoft employees to customers and partners. Derik tells us about his recent experiences with students and with exam development. He explains why he's so enthusiastic about applied skills in Microsoft Learn, and he offers a few of his own tips to prepare for passing a Power Platform or Dynamics exam. All right, well, we have Derik Bormann here. Hey, Derik, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you, and I think it sounds like a great time to have you on the episode here with me and my co-host, Julie. Hey, Julie.
Hello.
How's it going with you?
Things are good here in Colorado, getting ready for Dynamics Con next week, 30 miles away from home, so that's convenient for us.
Yeah, recording from a new locale. I don't know if everyone can hear the quality of the new office space, but I certainly can.
That was definitely a driving factor for the new space, was to sound better on recordings.
Yeah, it always is, right?
Of course. So, Derik, so glad that you're here with us. I've known you for what seems like forever.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, our families had vacation together.
Yes.
Can you introduce yourself to those who may not know you?
Sure. My name is Derik Bormann. I am a Microsoft certified trainer as well as a MVP alumni. I've been working in the dynamic space now for, let me see, my daughter's 16, so 18 years probably, somewhere in that area. Kind of started way back when it was Dynamics, right around 3.0. And then just have kind of evolved over the years with Dynamics and Power Platform and do a lot right now with Copilot Studio and a lot of those things. So have been, like I said, working for a very long time in the dynamic space.
It always amazes me, just to jump in, people who have been in this space as long as I've been covering it, who I've just still haven't run across yet. So it's great to have you here, Derik.
Yeah, thank you. I hide away. I've been in these dark online training rooms for, it seems like, for the last 3.5 years. So I really haven't seen the sun very much. So that there's probably a reason you haven't run into me yet. I'm just now coming out and going back into public again. So.
All right. Yeah. Get your eyes back accustomed to the light and join us all out here.
So the reason I asked Derik to join us was to talk about certifications, because Derik told me that he was going to spend some time this summer refreshing and renewing on his current certifications.
Yeah, so it's been a little while. So I've been doing a lot of training over the last 3 or 4 years. And so I've been helping a lot of other people get their certs. But I really, because of that, have kind of let my certs relapse a little bit. I've upkept quite a few of them, like with my Dynamics 365 sales and customer service and field service and PL 900 as well as PL 100. But I actually let my PL 200 expire, and so I'm looking to kind of get some new, add some new certs as well as get the ones that I had before. So,
what are some of the top ones that you're focusing on right now?
Well, right now this summer I'm going to try to get the PL 200 back, and then I'm going to work on PL 600. Mm-hmm. So those are probably the primary two that I'm going to be working on. Just because I've been getting, just because I had PL 200 and really like to teach that one, and PL 600 I get a lot of requests for that one, and so I'm fully capable of teaching it, but it really helps when you have that piece of paper that says that you are qualified to teach it.
Oh, and for those that are listening, generally speaking, when you're a Microsoft certified trainer, when you're teaching official curriculum, it is the curriculum that you have that cert yourself.
Yes. And PL 200 and PL 600, those are going to be new ones for me, just because those are cert, or that's content that I didn't actually write. Like with PL 900 and even some of the PL 100 content, those were all written by me. So anything that you've done on Learn related to PL 900 and anything, if you've taken any type of classroom training, I was really the one that put that together. So it is a little bit different, as I renew certs and do stuff. A lot of those I have written the content for. And so it's a little different to actually go out and start taking these certs and going through content that maybe I didn't necessarily write, which is always interesting.
Well, I was the lead author on the first iteration of the 600.
Yes, you were.
So,
You and Dave worked on that together. And
yeah.
I've heard it's a, I mean, I've gone through the content. It's amazing. It's an amazing course. It's just, it's been hard with the last three years. It seems like went through a stress there for about a year and a half to 2 years where I was literally teaching every day, 5 days a week, sometimes in two different time zones, depending upon the situation. And so it really got to a point where I just didn't have time to do kind of my maintenance of upkeeping those certs and stuff. So it's been fun to kind of get back in and start studying some of those things and working through those.
Yeah, sometimes I catch myself saying I'm too busy doing my job to do my job.
Yeah, it's hard. When you're teaching takes a lot of work. It's a lot of prep work. There's a lot of making sure your environments are ready. There's a lot of making sure that your demos are ready. And I'm one of those trainers where prior to actually teaching a class, I mean, I'll go through and I'll set up, I'll spend sometimes hours, if not days, making sure that my environment is ready. So when I start to do demos and we start talking through stuff, everything's going to work to perfection. And when you start doing that and spending that amount of time, and then you start teaching for 6 to 8 hours a day, you really don't have a lot of time to do anything else.
Derik, what kind of like teaching scenarios or classroom scenarios are you typically working in? Is it for a company? Is it individuals who are signing up for a course that you're leading?
So it's a little bit of both. Actually, the last 2 years, it was very heavy with Microsoft, and so they went through a hiring initiative a couple of years ago to bring in about 500 new TSs, which are kind of their technical specialists that assist in sales and those types of things. And so I was brought in to teach them and help onboard them. So I spent a lot of time getting them up to speed on Power Platform, so PL100, PL100 and PL200 content, as well as Dynamics 365 Customer Service, Field Service, Sales, and even a little bit of marketing, which now has been rebranded to Customer Insights Journeys. But it was a
Okay,
lot
great.
of remote. So it was a lot of dialing in, doing classes through Teams and online stuff. But prior to that, was doing a lot of classroom training. Before COVID hit, it was a lot of classroom training where I was flying all over the world. Julie was a part of that. Actually, we were flying all over the world and teaching people Power Platform and Dynamics and getting people up to speed on those. So it was a lot of in-person stuff, but lately it's been a lot of online in-person stuff.
And the Microsoft stuff that you've been doing has not been the official curriculum. People may get certifications, but maybe I'm wrong, but I think that this is different than the official curriculum.
Yeah, for the most part. So the content was really kind of heavily built by me, and so it was very tailored to the environment that we were teaching in and some of the job tasks and job duties that the Microsoft people were doing. Because at the end of the day, these were the people who were going out and really doing demos of this product, and so they really had to understand it inside and out, so they could configure it in a way that they could present it to a customer and tell a story using the software. So there was a lot more planning. There was a lot more understanding why certain things work certain ways, and putting them at a level of knowledge that really made it easy for them to be able to do level 100 presentations. But in order to do that, you have to have almost a level 300 knowledge of the product to be able to understand what you're configuring and why it does what it does.
So, circling back to the CERT part of the conversation, you mentioned PL 200 and PL 600. So, 200 is the functional consultant, 600 is the solution architect. My personal opinion is the 200 is the hardest cert out there because you have to know so many things. Um, why did you pick those two for now? What's special about those two certs that make it something that you need to do right now?
Well, PL 200 just because it's time. I mean, I let it lapse and I need to kind of get it back. And part of the reason I put it off, in addition to being busy, is for the exact reason that you said. It's probably one of the hard. It's probably one of the, if not the hardest cert out there because you have to know everything. And I've been in a lot of uh, job JTAs and been in a lot of scenarios where we've talked about that content and done some content planning around PL200. And it is by far, there's just so much that you have to know. And so to kind of get back in that mindset, because I might touch Power Apps all the time and I might build model driven apps, but I may not ever go in and do anything with, Power BI or some of the other content that's in there. And so it's just, it's really being able to find the time. And then as far as the solution architect one, it's just that's a class I enjoy teaching. I enjoy having conversations with people, and that class isn't as much as follow me and we're going to do technical stuff. It's more about understanding planning and how projects are done, and there's a lot of interaction back and forth. And those are really the environments that I enjoy teaching in, is where you have that opportunity to have back and forth with students and have students share real world experiences, and you can share real world experiences. And it really just makes the whole learning much more productive across the board.
And Julie, if I remember correctly, I think PL200 came up in one of our recent episodes. Really, I think maybe it was EY Coleman who described it as really a workhorse type of certification that he looks for when he's evaluating a lot of his sort of Power Platform consulting candidates, right?
I think it was EY that we spoke with recently, and he's talked about that as that really is an all-encompassing certification.
It is, and you have to know your stuff, and so that's one that as people go through their certification journey, PL 900 that's pretty easy. You get into PL 100, that's still you don't have to know kind of a deep breadth of all the different products. But when you're getting into PL 200, if you've passed PL 200, you know what you're doing. You totally understand all the different elements that fit into that, and how they work together. And there's just a lot of skill that goes into that. I personally think it's got maybe too much stuff in it. I think it might be better if it was ever broken off into smaller chunks where you could target more on specific areas. But I do believe that it's, anybody who has that cert, more power to you. You've paid your dues and you know what you're doing.
Oh, I 100% agree. I could totally see a Dataverse and model-driven apps certification. Maybe Power Automate on its own, but the non-developer stuff. And then, I don't know, what would Canvas apps and Power FX, would they be okay on one?
Yeah, I think so. And Power FX is weird because that is touching a lot of more things now. You can do a lot of Power FX stuff inside Canvas apps. I've done some pretty cool stuff with Power FX inside Copilot Studio, or formerly known as Power Virtual Agents. So I think Power FX is really expanding, and I think you're going to see that pop up in a lot more certs, not just the Canvas apps, but model driven and a lot of the other applications and stuff as they move forward.
So how are you preparing for these certs, and have you scheduled them yet? Do you work better with the deadline?
No, I have not scheduled them yet. My plan is to do them probably the first 2 weeks or so in July. That's usually my non-busy time. Everybody decides to go on vacation those 2 weeks, and so that'll give me an opportunity to really take some time and focus in and work with stuff from there. These two are interesting because these are, like I said, these are two of the certs that I didn't actually write the content for. So I am doing what everybody else would do. I'm going through Microsoft Learn, and working through all the different Learn modules that are out there. I'm also somebody who's very much a doer, and so as I study for like the PL 200, I will try to build my own projects. I'll try to do stuff that I think is fun and neat, to really teach myself kind of how to move around in those apps and try to find where all the little hidden elements are. So I kind of take the Learn content, and then depending upon what the topic is, that's where I kind of go in and I use those items and I kind of build something, because that's just you kind of know that about me. I'm just a very hands-on person when it comes to that. As far as the PL 600, I'm actually going to just talk to you and your husband and see if you can help me
Okay.
No, I'm gonna kind of go through the same thing. Is kind of go through those learned contents. The one nice thing is I have taught that class before, or a modified version of that. Maybe not the official Microsoft version, but I have taught versions of that before. So I will kind of pull on past experiences and use practice exams. The Microsoft official practice exams to make sure that I'm dialed in for that one.
And see, I see an intellectual conflict between trying to do the 200 and the 600 at the same time, because the 200 focuses more on the entry to mid-level solving of problems, and the 600 focuses on the abstract, how do you creatively solve problems.
They are very different. Personally, from my perspective, I've been doing a lot with the abstract stuff. A lot of consulting lately, where we've been doing a lot of solution envisioning and big picture type stuff and understanding how all the intricate pieces are going to work together. And so for that one, I feel much more comfortable with that one than with the PL200, just because you know how it is. There's been a lot of stuff specific to PL200 that maybe I haven't touched in 5, 6 months. Because I haven't been teaching that class. Honestly, I've been doing a lot of Copilot Studio stuff for the last 6 months. So it's going to take me a little bit more time to kind of get back up to speed on some of those aspects of PL 200 that I just don't necessarily use every day.
Will the materials themselves change in a 6-month period, or is it more an issue of refreshing your knowledge and kind of remembering what's what?
Well, a little bit of both. It kind of depends. If you're talking like Copilot Studio, aka Power Virtual Agents, that product has changed exponentially in the last 6 months as they've made the switch to and adding generative AI and being allowed to extend other copilots and stuff like that. Products like Dynamics 365 Customer Service, they maybe add new features here and there, but they don't necessarily, they maybe haven't necessarily changed over the years. But when you get into things like, some of the some of the power app stuff and those things, very much so. There's new things that come in. There's new techniques. There's new features. There's a lot more simplification of making it easier for people to do tasks. And so that changes what you're being tested on or how you're being tested. And so you have to understand kind of the new ways. You have to understand how that process works. And so it does take some time to work with that. So that was kind of a long answer to a short question, but yes, so there is a lot of evolution, particularly when it comes to Power Platform certs. Maybe not quite as much as there was 2 years ago, but there's still pretty significant evolution from year to year.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I guess just given seeing how many changes are planned every 6 months in the roadmaps, that those tests really very well could be changing a lot. So yeah, thank you for that. It's kind of what I was wondering.
So you mentioned quite a few different ways to prepare for the certs. So we have the official content that's on Learn. There's official curriculum, which could be taught by a live instructor, a Microsoft certified trainer. There's the practice exams that are available for. Is there one available for the 600? I'm pretty sure there's one for the 200.
There is one for the 200. I don't know that there is for the 600. I'd have to check and check with the owner of that. But you mentioned, that's one of the advantages, and you know this, Julie, with being an MCT. That's one of the advantages to being MCTs is we have access to the classroom materials. And so, I do oftentimes use the classroom materials that the PowerPoint decks and the instructor guides and the student guides. Those are often things that I will use to help me prep a little bit, because there's a lot of demos in there. There's a lot of scenarios that you have to go ahead and set up. And so it really helps you understand how to configure this stuff. So that's one advantage to being, there's many advantages to being an MCT, but that's one of the nice advantages of the MCT is having access to that official curriculum, because it does help prep from that standpoint.
And then there's the hands-on component, putting hands on keys, trying to build the stuff that you're going to be tested on, and You can do that with the applied skills exercises on Learn. You could do that with an app in a day, which is on Learn. You can independently just have an idea and decide you're going to build an app to monitor your kids' homework or whatever you're going to do to get hands on to give you more, I guess, knowledge in your head specifically for that targeted certification. Other avenues that we're missing for preparing for certs?
Not that I can think of, but I will just add those applied skills are amazing. That's kind of a new initiative, and I think you said you've talked about that on this on podcast before. But I'm a huge advocate of the applied skills because they really do help you understand in kind of a real world scenario, and they're not easy. I think the first time I took one of the Power Automate ones, I had to take a step back and kind of recondition my brain a little bit, but they're probably the best thing Microsoft's got going right now, in my opinion, is those applied skills. They test so many different things, and they make you work through real world scenarios. And in my opinion, if you pass one of the applied skills, you definitely know what you're doing. And so, if you're not currently using applied skills or taking advantage of those, and I know they don't have a ton of them right now, but they are adding more all the time. I'm actually working on a project right now where we're working on one of the applied skills for AI Builder. Those are just, I can't say enough good things about the applied skills stuff. I just think it's amazing.
Well, we've talked about it for more than a decade. How can we do this? And the fact that we've recently evolved to include this in our toolbox of things is amazing.
Yeah, and it truly gives you. I feel like the person who's gone through that applied skill understands more than just what you can read in a book. They've touched the applications, they're doing stuff. And I'm always been a huge advocate of, I don't care how much you read, you have to put hands on keys. And when you put hands on keys, and if you do it enough times, it becomes conditioned in your brain. And the applied skills is a great way to do that because you're not always going to get it right the first time. And we've all been there. You understand, the way you learn the fastest is by screwing stuff up. And once you make a mistake over and over and you've tried to troubleshoot it and go through it and you finally realize what you did wrong, you never forget that. And so that's one of the other reasons I think the applied skills is great because it isn't just go do these steps. It makes you think about how you're going to combine all these different elements together and build that solution. And so if you're going out and prepping for a certification and there is an applied skill, I would absolutely recommend going through it. Go through the learning paths that are out on Learn. If you have the opportunity to learn from a certified instructor, that's great. But whatever avenue that you learn, if you're getting ready to go out and take that exam, if there's an applied skill, I would highly recommend doing it. You will be much better prepared for that exam. That's my personal opinion.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Any final words of wisdom or advice for people who are preparing to take their certs this summer?
Just, carve out the time to make sure that you are putting the effort in to being able to achieve success. I've seen so many scenarios where people are going to go out and try to get their certs and they kind of halfway study and they don't put that time in to be able to do it, and then they are surprised when they didn't pass. When I get ready to do a certification exam, I that week before, that's all I'm focused on. I am every free minute that I have, I'm going through Learn content. I'm building stuff on my own. I'm doing applied skills. I'm doing everything that I can to get myself in that mindset. If it's PL 200 and there's practice exam questions, I'm going through those practice exam questions and working through those. And I'm just really immerse myself in that product for that week. I do a lot of prep prior to that, but I also, we also have jobs and stuff like that. So I really, try to prep as much as I can. But when I know I have something scheduled, so as soon as I put it on the books for, let's say, July 15th or whatever it happens to be, that week prior to that will be, I will lock myself in my office, and that's kind of all I do. So really take the time to prep. I think the more you can prep and the more you can immerse yourself in the technology, the better opportunity for success you're going to have.
Well, thank you very much, Derik, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And we will update our show notes after you've taken your exams to let folks know that you've passed them.
Okay, so no pressure is what you're
No
telling
pressure
me.
at all.
No
We've just
pressure at
made
all. Okay.
We will be
public
calling, Derek.
declarations. What was that,
Yeah.
Jason?
I said, yeah, we will be calling to find out.
Yep, exactly. So thank you so much.
Anything
No,
else?
thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. This was
Yeah,
good.
it's been great. Thank you so much for being here. Anything else you want to mention to our listeners? Any projects you're working on? Anywhere else they can reach you or connect with you?
Yeah, you can always find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Derik Bormann on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. As of right now, that's probably the biggest thing I'm working on. And then just look for content updates. We're doing a lot of cool stuff right now with Copilot Studio and writing content related to Copilot Studio, and as well as working on some Power Platform updates. So just stay tuned to Microsoft Learn for all sorts of exciting new content that's coming here in the next probably 2 months.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here.
That was my pleasure, and thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us once again in the BizApps Classroom. If you want to get in touch, you can send me an email, jason@msdynamicsworld.com or julie@365.training. We have links to get in touch with Derik, links to past BizApps Classroom episodes, and information on how to support the podcast and get a discount on an annual plan for 365.training. We'll see you again soon in the BizApps Classroom.